A hazy or blushed appearance in your wood coating is a problem that can happen from time to time. If this is a problem that you're experiencing, don't fear. I'm Darrel Young with mlcampbell, and you've reached the finish line. Welcome back to the finish line. Today we're going to be talking about a film defect where your coating film has a hazy or blushed type of appearance. And this is the result of either something happening in the coating film or some residue on top of the coating film. Depending on the reason it's happening, determines whether it's in or on the film. And one common reason would be you've used an oil-based or solvent-based wiping stain on your wood and you haven't wiped it off thoroughly, or you haven't dried it completely, and the leftover oil or the residual solvent in the stain is reacting with whatever coating you put on top, turning the coating this hazy appearance. It can also happen if you use an incompatible solvent or thinner in your coating. For instance, if I try to reduce my pre-cat lacquer with mineral spirits or xylene, well, those things aren't going to work out too good because they're not the recommended thinners for that type of coating. So you should always use only the type of reducer or thinner that's recommended by the manufacturer for the coating in question. Another common reason you may get kind of a hazy or blushed appearance is when you're spraying in hot, humid conditions. Rapid evaporation of solvent from your coating caused by the heat can cause this effect called evaporative cooling on the surface of the wood, the sprayed surface. And that can reduce the surface temperature of your wet coating, causing water vapor from the air to condense on the coating film, basically causing this hazy or blushed appearance. And this typically happens in hot, humid conditions, but it can even happen in very cold, damp conditions where there is a lot of moisture in the air. Even a small drop in coating surface temperature as a result of this evaporative cooling brought on by solvent evaporation can result in this condensation of water on the surface in these damp conditions. A way to deal with that problem is either don't spray in those conditions or use a retarder to slow down the overall rate of solvent evaporation and bring up that surface temperature above the dew point of the air. For coatings that are catalyzed with an acid, pre-catalyzed lacquer, post-catalyzed lacquer, conversion varnish, those are coatings that are catalyzed with a weak solution of acid. If I add too much catalyst to that type of coating, the acid that's not being kind of used up in the curing reaction may migrate to the surface of the dried coating film and cause this reoccurring oily or greasy bloom on the surface. And if you run your finger across the surface of the film, you can kind of see a greasy trail as you move your finger across. And this can usually be wiped off, but it tends to reoccur after a little while, and it just keeps coming back. It's difficult to get rid of. Some common ways to try to get rid of it is wiping down the surface with an alcohol such as isopropyl alcohol or denatured alcohol using clean rags, or using VMP naphtha, or a cleaner called Simple Green has sometimes been shown to be effective. But none of those things are a guarantee, and very likely you will have to do it multiple times before you can maybe find an endpoint to this reoccurring bloom. Much better would be to just measure the catalyst correctly in the first place, making sure you have the correct catalyst ratio. What do you do if you already have a hazed or blushed appearance in your coating? Well, it really depends on why it happened. If it's the case where your oil-based stain was not dried or wiped properly, you're going to have to strip off the coating and start again. Same deal if you've used an incompatible solvent and the coating got hazy, it's going to have to go. If you've over-catalyzed the material and you can't get that acid bloom to stop, similarly, you're going to have to strip it. If your haze is occurring because of that whole blushing thing we talked about, where you're spraying in hot, humid conditions or even cold, damp conditions, and moisture is condensing out of the air on the coating film, in that scenario, if you notice this soon enough, you can mix some retarder in with the coating you just sprayed, maybe 3 to 5% may be enough to do the job, and then spray another light coat of that same material with the retarder in it over the blushed area. And if everything goes well, that material with the retarder added will redissolve the coating with the moisture trapped in it, and the retarder will carry out the moisture and allow the coating to dry the way it was intended to. If you miss that opportunity, that is the coating dries before you notice the blushing, sometimes using denatured alcohol or isopropyl alcohol on a soft rag and just rubbing it across the surface will pull out that blush. Alcohol has an affinity to water, and if it can penetrate the coating film, it may be able to pull out that water and allow the coating to dry without that hazy appearance. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Finish Line. Don't forget to leave questions or comments below, and please do like, share, and subscribe to this episode. See you again. That's been trapped as a result of that. That's a mess. Got to do better there. To reoccur, we'll be back.